What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Viall Files. I'm your gracious host, Nick. With us today, Chrissy, my producer.
Hello.
Amanda is in house. God only knows what Allie's up to.
Allie is becoming a star in the big city.
Oh, that's right. Isn't she?
She's shooting a TV show in New York.
Show in New York.
She's a star.
So
we'll just stay here.
We'll stay here.
We're just in this podunk town of Los Angeles.
Allie will be back. How long is she gone for? I don't even pay attention.
She's coming back on Sunday.
Just come back when you want. We have a really great and hopefully inspiring episode for all the listeners out there. The delightful, wonderful Sheila Kelley is with us today to talk about, well, first and foremost, her documentary that's available on Netflix, Strip Down, Rise Up. We talk a lot about essentially what?
Sexuality.
Obviously focused on women's sexuality, but we get into a nice conversation. Erotic energy.
Autonomy.
What does it mean to know our erotic self, both men and women? Seems to be a big disconnect out there. There's always like love languages and enneagrams and how you partner up, astrology and yet
human
design. And we talk about kind of knowing who we are erotically and how that's important to know. And I had a ton of fun talking with Sheila. It's one of those conversations where you feel like you could just talk 3 or 4 hours, but it was still pretty long, but jam-packed with delightfulness. So I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Don't forget we have some fun merch out there. So check us out on viallfiles.com. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram. Do all that fun stuff. Go back and check out our Ask Nick episode this week because, wow, some great stuff there. Quick reminder, great episode next week. Molly Sims is with us, the wonderful and delightful Molly Sims. And I guess we probably got Bachelorette around the corner. That'll be fun. Can't wait. It'll be great. A lot of drama, I'm sure, to unfold. And yeah, thanks for just listening, guys. Should we just start by discussing the 10 possible options?
Yeah. The 10 erotic creature icons.
Where did this come from?
This came from teaching S Factor for 20 years and watching women's movements and watching how women would fall into one of 10 different iconic erotic energies in the shape of their body, in the way they danced, in the music they chose, in the clothes that they wore. They would develop this erotic creature, and it turned out to be very close to who they would call in love.
In terms of like how, like partners.
Yeah.
What are the 10?
There's 5 dark and 5 light. And they're based in like core body emotions. So the dark is the deep soulful siren, which you're familiar with.
Apparently I am.
Yeah. There's the shy, reluctant enigma.
Shy, reluctant enigma.
Yeah. There's the dangerous challenger.
Why are they dangerous? Is dangerous bad?
They're fiery. Dangerous in a good way, like dangerous sex.
Okay.
Dangerous sexuality.
Okay.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like there's a volatility to their lovemaking.
Like they leave scratches?
Maybe. Yeah. I have no judgment.
No, this is a full no judgment podcast.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Then there's the naughty provocateur. He and she like kinkier, sexier, crazier, dangerous. They go out. They're outside the box. They like to provoke.
Okay.
And then there's the ice king and queen. And they are just kind of haughty, cold, cool. You got to melt them. You got to work hard to melt the two of them.
Or do they have to work hard to allow themselves to be melt?
Well, that's incredibly wise of you. Yes. Or they don't, or they're lonely and they don't find anybody to heat them up. They like hotter energy. So Ice King and Ice Queen together, they do not work. They don't work well.
They don't talk at dinner. Those couples who are at the restaurant.
They're like 18-foot tables.
It's like those people hate each other.
They hate each other, but they're rich.
Oh, wait, Amanda, you were the blissful pleaser?
She's the blissful pleaser.
I'm a blissful pleaser, too.
What? Okay, so the light icon's a blissful pleaser. And she's like all Mother Earth, and she's nurturing, and she's loving, and she'll cook for you, and she loves to be nurtured and loved as well. And so there's also the blissful provider, which is the masculine version.
Okay.
There's the lustful lover, and that they are just pure pleasure, pure hedonistic, erotic pleasure.
I have to have Natalie take this quiz. I'm really
Is this
curious.
your
My girlfriend? Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
please do. And then there's the joyful playmate, and that is a sexual energy, an erotic energy that just wants to have fun and play and just bounce off of each other. And then there's the innocent teaser, and that is that's like a newness of sexuality. Like they come at everything with like an open-eyed, like, oh, let's do that again. I've never kissed before. And then like 5 minutes later, let's kiss again. I've never done that before. So they bring a fresh newness to eroticism like every single time that they engage. Think Marilyn Monroe.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then you have the champion energy, which is like a deep, grounded, kind of really centered energy of erotic energy. Like they're just like pure, like think like, I want to say The Rock. Just like pure mountain energy.
Like, do you watch Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Okay, so like Khal Drogo energy.
Khal Drogo is between champion and dangerous challenger because he's pissed.
Yeah, he's got
He's
anger.
pissed. And he's hot, right?
And he's
So
so
good.
hot.
He's hot. We're so into him because he's like sexy hot. Like he wants to kill you, but he really wants to kill you in love. He wants to decimate.
And that's good.
That's good.
so
Yeah,
hot.
it's good. But I think like
Hot.
Barack Obama is like a champion sexual energy,
Ah.
right? He has between blissful provider and champion.
But he's a little bit aloof, I feel.
a little icy.
Not
I don't
maybe.
think
I don't know.
I feel like he's so warm. I think he might be more like half provider, half champion.
Yeah.
Like he's got that selfless, like the champion sexual energy is really selfless. Like I will provide everything you need and I will find my needs filled by your needs being filled. That's hot.
Yeah.
That's hot.
But it's always interesting how they balance each other out.
Exactly.
I'm immediately thinking about like, now we know ourselves, but like, who are we dating and how we're attracted to them? And if you are someone like the champion, where you get your joy after giving, out of giving,
Yeah.
and providing, is there a limit to that? At what point do you lose yourself in focusing on others and not focusing on yourself enough? But what happens if you're not with someone who receives that in a way that you want them to?
Like you're with an ice queen.
Sure. Yeah.
Then it's
You're
like,
just like, I don't need. Yeah.
yeah, that's not how a relationship's going to work. I think
Yeah.
champion men and champion women work really well together because it's kind of like that infinity sign. Like they give and take equally. But like, for example, you talked about my husband and my erotic energy is the dangerous challenger.
Oh, you're a dangerous challenger.
Well, in my erotic world, yeah.
Okay.
And he's more of a I'd say he has champion energy in his erotic.
Is this all specific to the bedroom, or
No.
is this specific to like everyday life?
I think everything that happens in the body, it's like the stone that goes into the pond and ripples out into every part of your life. I really do.
Yeah.
I really do. So I think it starts in your body and in your eroticism and how your body wants to be loved or give love, give lust, take lust. And then it just ripples into every relationship. And you can even look at people and you can start to say, oh yeah, that, like you said, the forest, right? The deep, dark forest. And immediately it was like, he's got depth. He's interested in depth in probably many facets of your life, not just erotically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would guess that your girlfriend, I don't know her, but she might have some shy, reluctant enigma energy.
I mean, off the top, it sounds like sure, maybe she could be shy, reluctant, but underneath it all,
Yeah. Well, shy, reluctant energy loves deep, soulful siren energy because the deep, soulful siren is going to penetrate deeper, 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 always going deeper in. And the shy, reluctant enigma is just dying for that.
Sometimes when I go real deep, she rolls her eyes at me. She's like, "Really, you're still talking?" So, how did you get into all this? By the way, Sheila Kelley, everyone.
That's me.
Welcome to the Viall Files.
Welcome to the Viall Files.
I'm not leaving. I love it here.
But yeah, how did you get into this? I saw an interview where you talked about you did a movie role that you played a stripper and then she started pole dancing and that snowballed into really a kind of a whole lifestyle and become a huge passion of yours.
Exactly.
And so obviously the movie role, but what made you connect with the role and allow you to find something, a deeper meaning, as opposed to like, oh, that was actors get to do a lot of different things, and depending on the character they play, maybe they learn how to horseback ride. It's like, oh, that was cool, and now I know how to horseback ride. But it really changed your life. Is that fair to say, in terms of how you approach that? And what was it about that moment that allowed you to take playing that role and then find kind of all these benefits, and then do what you're doing now in terms of using pole dancing as a way to allow so many women to really reconnect with who they are and really empower them?
I think you just nailed it right there. The reason why, you're right, I've done a gazillion roles and I've played a different characters that do different things, but this thing affected me in such a profound way personally, because what you just said, I really started to see who I really am as an erotic creature. I thought I was really keen on who I was. I thought I was a sexy person. I thought that I had control over my body. But when I started to work on that film, it was an improvisational film, and I realized I had no idea how to inhabit my erotic body in front of people. That wasn't just in the dark of the bedroom, right? And the discovery over the 4 months of this improvisational film and developing this character was really digging deep inside and finding a side of myself in my body and embodying my body in a way that I never had before, that gave me incredible confidence. And then understanding who I was as an erotic creature made me understand the relationship with my husband. And my relationship with my husband was not at a great place at that time. And so discovering all this about myself elevated our relationship. And we've been together like 31 years because of me knowing who I am and being able to bring that to the table with him.
Knowledge is power, people, and knowing what we're putting in our bodies and what we're eating, our dietary habits, will help us meet our health goals, whatever those goals might be. So if you're looking to get in better shape, if you're looking to maybe gain some muscle mass, maybe it's losing some weight, maybe it's just like having more energy as a result of the things that we eat, Noom is helping us get there. If you want to get healthier and stay healthier, you need to know more about your decisions. Noom gives you the knowledge, tools, and confidence of making strategic choices that turn into long-term habits, and those long-term habits turn into healthier, happier you. Based in science and built by psychologists, Noom doesn't give you rules, but instead it teaches you how to think so you can accomplish your personal health goals, stick with them long-term, and get healthy for good. It's really helped me learn about my habits. It only takes me 10 minutes a day. It helps me appropriately maintain my cheat days. I'm just trying to, keep the body the way it is. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to stay. And that's hard to do. But I also love, say frosted mini wheats. Well, I could still enjoy a frosted mini wheats, and Noom is helping me do that. The science to getting healthier. It's called Noom. Sign up for your trial today at Noom, Noom.com/VIALL. Learn how to get healthy with Noom. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com/VIALL. The zebra. What is zebra? Well, first, I want you to think about all the quarantine purchases you made. The late night pizza deliveries, the mini succulent trios, the online trainer you ghosted after 2 weeks. And then there's one of the biggest purchases of your year, insurance. Americans overspend on car and home insurance by billions every year, and that money could be spent on more happier things. That's where the Zebra can help you. The Zebra is the nation's leading insurance comparison site for car and home insurance. In minutes, you can compare policies from every major provider for free, all in one independent marketplace. After a few quick questions, the Zebra pairs people with the right insurance company for them, helping everyone save time and money. Buy online or over the phone with one of the licensed insurance agents. Make sure insurance is your smartest purchase yet. Visit thezebra.com/VIAL. That is THEZEBRA.com/VIALL. No hidden fees or fine print with your personal information. Best of all, the Zebra has no stake in the policy you choose. They're there just to help you find the best coverage that's right for you and save some money so you can spend it on yourself. We spend a lot of time on this show. Like, you're watching the documentary, Strip Down, Rise Up, on Netflix, by the way. If you haven't watched it, you should just pause and watch it. So many things are covered that we talk about, like, taking your power back, shame, finding things, like, especially in relationships, finding your own individual passions and not losing yourself in a relationship. And it was really kind of fascinating to see you guys cover it all in your relationship. We talk a lot. It's one thing we talk so much about. We get a lot of questions is married couples, right? it's, mostly women listen to this podcast, but they will ask, I've been with my partner or my husband 10, 15 years, 5 years, whatever the time period is, and we've lost the spark, or how do we get the spark back? My husband and I, we have sex, twice a month or whatever it is. And that's a tough question to answer on an individual basis, but it sounds like a lot of it has to do with maybe there's a lot of people in relationships and they'll, will people get married at a younger age and they don't really maybe know who they are, or they've lost themselves in the relationship. And is that something that what you spoke to in terms of really kind of tapping in and taking a step back, even though you were already in this, at what point, how long were you married to your husband when you kind of identified this, that you wanted to take a step back and get to know yourself and have it benefit your relationship?
We were together probably 10 years, 15 years. 10. So the beginning of our relationship, we have incredible chemistry.
Yeah.
And that's what kept us together, is a volatile sexual chemistry. But my sense of who he was and how he was erotically and in everyday was like, I didn't understand it. I didn't understand. You know him. He played Toby in The West Wing. He's on The Good Doctor. He has a lot of dark energy.
Yeah, he has it's a very intimidating presence on maybe that's why I'm into it. I was like, I really enjoy watching him, but yeah, he does.
He's intense and he's dark and he has a lot of kind of steamy, pissy, pissed off energy that you can just feel.
Yeah.
And I was like, why am I with this guy? Why am I with this guy? He's so dark. I should be with somebody really light like me. And what this journey was able to show me is, girl, you've got dark energy just as dark as his. And that dark energy is why you are so attracted to each other. And so I feel like you talk about couples that lose the spark. They have kids, they have life, they go into some time together, and all of a sudden they've lost what I call polarity, the sexual polarity, which is that energy, that masculine, feminine, positive, negative, north, south energy that creates that incredible attraction. If you think about magnetic energy, you think about electrical energy, you think about sexual energy, you've got to have that polarity. If you have too much sameness, if you become like roommates, if you become, like family, brother, sister, you lose the sexual polarity. And once you do that, it just kind of flatlines. But I truly am passionate about helping women and men recreate that polarity, because you can, I don't care if you've been together 40 years, 5 months, you can fix polarity. You can create polarity. And the number one thing is finding out who you are in your body as an erotic being. If you don't know who you are, how do you know what your lover is? How do you know what to bring to the party of love, right? To sexuality.
How was your husband at first when you discovered this, in terms of accepting this exploration you did within yourself? Because I wonder, especially a part of the doc was this almost fear of their partner, of will he accept me? Will he be open to this change? Will he even be okay that I'm taking a pole dancing class, et cetera, the judgment that might come with it? Like, how was he specifically? And what would you say to the women listening who don't, shockingly, even though it's their husband, don't even feel comfortable to talk about this? Hey, I want to get to know who, almost, does it sound too, hippie jeebie or whatever? Let's, hey, I want to
do personal growth.
Let's dance on a pole and get to know ourselves again. And you're like, what?
How about let's dance on a pole and free our sexual desire?
Yeah.
Or how about dance on a pole and free my erotic creature? Because I agree with you. People it's how do you put the two and two together? Look, it's a whole revolution in our whole world. It's a cultural revolution of coming from being stuck up here in our masculine mind, coming back into the body, right? I mean, we're all living, from our armpits up with our little phones, our little computers, our little tablets. And so we've lost our body, and we've lost we can't even understand how our body wants to come into a relationship erotically or sexually. We see images, we see pornography, we see romance novels, we see stuff outside of ourselves, and we think, oh, maybe that's how I want to be loved, or maybe that's what I find erotic. But actually, your body is got all the answers. So like, I'm just a real body advocate. And so I feel like it can feel like, oh, this is all so bizarre, but it blew my mind. What happened in my life was so radical. The transformation was so intense that I just started to share it with people, and then they shared it with people, and it grew grassroots, right? And then Oprah came and had us on the show.
So it was more like, hey, I'm into this.
Look what happened.
This is what I'm doing.
Exactly. Look what happened to me. This is what happened to me when I, woke up to my erotic body. It can happen to you. And it did happen for thousands of women. And at this point, I've, taught hundreds of thousands of women, and it just seems to light women back up because, think about the world we live in. Think about the documentary. Women are told from the time they are itty bitty to stop touching that, don't do this, don't do that, keep those crossed, don't do this, don't wear that, to the point where we are so terrified of what our bodies are saying to you and to the world that we just start to clench, and we shrink ourselves to be smaller and smaller and smaller so that we don't upset the status quo, so that we don't upset the patriarchal value, right? The value system. And so when you actually step back into the volatile sexuality of the feminine body, watch out, because you're going to turn into the sexual erotic icon of yourself. It's like women have such incredible sexual energy that has been shut down. So when you free it, it's like you're just unleashing the most magnificent erotic energy.
How much resistance have you felt from the outside world along the way? Because especially we get a lot of people listening to this podcast who, it's a very common story, you come from a very traditional religious background, a conservative. I mean, I'm like that myself, and that's why we just kind of have this kind of no judgment mentality on this show. And religion can be very great, but it has done damage in people's lives.
What has done damage?
Religion. Yeah, the shame of it all, like the judgment, or and even hearing you talk, just kind of empowerment combined with sex and femininity, I think a lot of people can find it intimidating. Or you see it on the internet, right? Now that my girlfriend and I are more public now, and she's posting on Instagram, her women audience has gone up. Before it was more like men following her, and she's a beautiful woman, and she's proud of her body, and she'll post pictures in a bikini sometimes, and sometimes you get a real harsh, judgmental world out there.
It's harsh, man.
And how can women not let that get to them, and not let that like stunt their kind of confidence in who they are, in their bodies, in their sexual energy, and without the shame of traditional kind of conservative values?
It's a great question, and it's so funny because I was brought up Roman Catholic, and
Same.
A lot of the women at the S Factor community are very religious, either Christian or Jewish, or there's even Muslim students. But you have to reframe what religion is for your body, and include your body in religion. To me, I mean, especially, I'm not saying, hey, get erotic and go sleep with everybody. I'm saying get erotic for your own life and your own pleasure and your own, if you have a significant other partner, and bring that into, I believe sexuality is one of the most spiritual experiences on the planet. I believe coming together with somebody in consciousness and in love through your body can be like touching God.
Yeah.
And I feel like whatever you believe in, God, the universe, Allah, whatever, this body was created for pleasure. These bodies, right? That's why the bodies have so many nerve endings and erogenous zones and different ways of feeling pleasure. And what a sad thing to go through your life and not live in this body to its fullest potential that was God-given. So I reframe it in that way, it's about living to the fullest potential you're capable of. It's about laughing as broadly as you can. It's about feeling as much pleasure as you can. It's about feeling as much love as you can, connection as you can. And then you'll have lived your body will have been well used in life.
How can we be untucked and free while still looking like a professional badass? Well, I'll tell you how. Untuck it. It's a shirt that like fits right and appropriately for your body. And you can let it like not be tucked in. You don't want to seem all tight and stuffed up, but you don't want to look like a slob
designed
eater.
to be worn untucked.
That's
the
right.
whole purpose.
It's meant to be worn untucked while you look great. Doesn't matter if it's for work or a red carpet event. Doesn't matter. Untuck It's got you covered. Untuck It makes shirts designed to be worn untucked. They have fits for all shapes and sizes. Untuck It offers up to XXXL. Plus, they have slim, relaxed, and tall fits. I love my Untuck It. They have performance shirts that wick sweat. That's the perfect transition shirt, back from, from work, go out to play. Either way, you got the shirt that covers it all. Dinner with friends? Yeah, Untuck It's got you covered. Reuniting with family and vacation too. Use my code, VIALL, for 20% off your first purchase at Untuck It. So ladies out there, get your guy a shirt that fits. Make him look good, free. Let him show that body. All while not looking like a slob. Also, they have free returns and exchanges. Credit Karma. True story about Credit Karma. I used it when I was buying my house. They really, obviously, your credit score plays a big deal when you're trying to buy a house. And I monitored my credit up through the loan process, and they were truly a big help. I wouldn't got the rate I had without Credit Karma. I can say that. Credit Karma has always been there to help you make better financial decisions, and now they want to help even more. With a Credit Karma Money Spend account, you can be rewarded for good money habits. Who doesn't want instant gratification? Credit Karma Money is a brand new checking account where you can win cash reimbursements for making purchases. You can use your Credit Karma Money debit card and win daily Insta Karma purchase reimbursements on items up to $5,000. Credit Karma Money has already given away over $3 million in instant karma to over 50,000 Credit Karma members and counting. Open your FDIC insured spend account for free. There's no minimum balance requirements, no overdraft fees, free withdrawals from a network of over 50,000 ATMs. Right now, visit creditkarma.com/winmoney to open your free account and start winning instant karma. Go to creditkarma.com/winmoney to sign up for free and start winning instant karma. That's creditkarma.com/winmoney. Instant Karma is sponsored by Credit Karma. No purchase necessary. Exclusions and terms apply. See rules. Banking services provided by MVB Bank Incorporated, member FDIC. Maximum balance and transfer limits apply. The real focus for the women in the documentary that you work with, it was for themselves. Like their sexuality, their pleasure was more focused on what pleasures you, what makes you happy. Yeah. And then whoever's into that, allow them to maybe enjoy it if you want to. But like we, especially women, and I think men suffer a little bit too much sometimes too, is that all the pleasure they think they should be having should be focused on whether they're accepted by their partner. Like, what do you like? Oh, are you okay? Did you finish? Did you come? Did you like, right. Are you okay? Like, don't worry about me. I'm like, as long as you're happy.
I'm over here, be a champion.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, it's just like, well, wait, well, what about you? And I think it's amazing how many, and I think more women than men aren't even focused on like if they climaxed or if they're getting any enjoyment out of it whatsoever.
So many women don't even climax and don't even know how to climax in a lovemaking session with a partner.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a statistic that is painful because our bodies are so shut down from such an early age. When the minute you wake your body up, and if you do it through any feminine movement practice, but I use S Factor as a feminine movement practice, you don't have to use a pole. You can just do the floor work and just warm up your body and move your body, undulate your body. And that is an erotic energy, right? And to me, what you're saying is so true. And the fact that that women have been okay living like this, and what the documentary shows is we're getting to a tipping point where women are just boiling over. They don't want to live in misery. They don't want to live in shutdown. They don't want to live without polarity and turn on. But a woman, when she wakes up to the fact that she is responsible for her own coming, she is responsible for her own turn on. It's not his or her partner's job. That changes this whole scenario. It changes the whole thing because it makes her feel like she knows herself and doesn't have to depend on someone else for her own pleasure and her own happiness. I mean, that's huge. That really ripples out, right?
Well, yeah, it makes you like a free agent.
Free agent.
And it's like,
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, we wouldn't have a podcast. We do an episode where people call and ask relationship questions, and it wouldn't exist if everyone understood that premise, because it's so much of, well, what can I do to make them okay? What can I, like, there's very little thinking about their own needs. And that's not just sexual. It's just about their own happiness, day-to-day life, their work, their passions and career. And it's just like, well, if you just took a moment and prioritized the things that you want in life, and then you were just like, if anyone wants this, I'm great. Or if you don't, also fine. That would just make you so much more free. You were running around life being like, are you okay with this? Are you okay? No, you're not. Like, what can I do? And then you're being pulled in all these different directions. Like it's you know, people are dating like it's like a political campaign, which is, it's tough because
so
like
tough.
you can't get everyone to like you.
No,
you know, you just got to find the one.
No, but you're really wise because you're absolutely right. I mean, it's like when you are self-satisfied, when you know yourself so well, and especially your body, because that's where I come from, is everything emanates from the body. When you are so keen on exactly how you want to be kissed, exactly how you want to be touched, where you want to be touched, how you want to be touched, how you want to be loved, and you feel so full, you can't help but want to give. You can't help but want to serve when you feel full. But I have met so many people, Nick, so many women, mostly women, who walk through the world empty, needy, and thinking that their partner is going to fill that need. Yeah. And you know, that I don't want to be alone. I don't want you to go golfing. I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to do that. Be with me, be with me, be with me. Go shopping with me. Go do this with me. And it gets to the point where their partners are just at a loss. Like, I can't give anymore. Yeah. I have to take, care of me. If there's one thing that the masculine, and when I talk about masculine, feminine, I'm not talking about gender. I'm not talking about biological sex. I'm actually talking about whether you identify with more masculine or more feminine energy to define who you are as a human being, right? But the more masculine energies, they've learned, there's a self-sustaining energy that they've learned. They learn to take care of themselves, I've noticed. And the feminine who wants to please, the more masculine seems to be much more autonomous. And it might be the world we live in. It might be just innate masculine energy. But the feminine energy feels to me that it's always wanting to please and always serving and acquiescent. And when you get to the point where women and feminine energy is able to be self-sustaining and autonomous, and then you've got two equal energies in a relationship. Mm-hmm. It's so volatile. It's like, I say the word volatile, but that people might not understand what I mean. It's like explosive sexuality. Yeah. So if you are in a relationship that you've been in for 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, and you feel that it's kind of like gotten dormant sexually, it's kind of gotten boring, like you said, they have sex once or twice a month, once a year, you can pull yourself back into yourself, learn about how to turn yourself on, and then bring that back into that relationship to actually increase that spark. Talk about feminine energy or women, and this, like, the stereotype, or maybe it's because it's just more prevalent of wanting to please or give, the nurturing energy. But and it seems like people will confuse that nurturing energy with, like, again, just forgetting what they need, or nurturing themselves. Exactly. Or like, why, it's just like, and maybe that's why it's so common. But it seems like you believe both can be possible. You can be a nurturer and giving, all while not forgetting the things you need, which that seems to be what happens most often. If I want to be a caretaker, I want to take care of my partner, I want to take care of my kids, or whoever it is. Yep. And then one day you wake up, you're like, I'm miserable. Yeah. And I'm empty. Yeah. And I feel depleted and tired. And now I'm depressed. So now I'm going to get on antidepressants. I'm going to go see shrink. I'm going to try and you start to try and use, you've gotten so conditioned to look outside yourself for fulfillment. You don't know that if you just turn around and look inside and you look at the wonder that is the feminine body, a woman's body, you look at the brilliance. I often say to women, you are number one. You're the top of the cup on that champagne fountain cup thing. And if you are empty, you will be giving from emptiness. But if you fill yourself up first, and it's called the infinity, right? It's like, I can give to you, but I have to give to me to get full. It's this infinity energy. Like, we have some blissful pleasers in the audience over here. Amanda's a blissful pleaser. So blissful pleasers run the risk of giving until they're depleted. Yeah. What the blissful pleaser needs to learn, I'm looking at both of you, is that I can only give out what I have inside. So I have to fill up first, and then I give from that full cup. And so, yeah,
I like
think
that kind of analogy. It's like one of those water fountains.
Exactly.
Like, it's coming from, it's recycling the water. Like, it's not like it's just pulling from nothing.
That's exactly right.
You know, so it's intaking the water in the pool. That's right. Also filling up the pool.
That's right. That's right. And then I can nurture from that place. And women do have a strong nurture bent, or the feminine does, right? So the one thing women have never been taught or given permission to even do is to spend time filling their own cup first, finding out how they want to be loved, finding out how they want to be touched, moving in an erotic way, turning themselves back on. And if they took all the energy that we use to shut ourselves down, I mean, when I said earlier that women have been taught and trained from early childhood to get smaller and smaller and smaller like this, right? Look at my body. Do you know how much energy it takes to keep myself this small? It takes a lot of energy. Now, what if I release that energy and then I find my own erotic energy inside my body? Oh my God, you're creating 10 times the energy that you had been living with to live in the future, right? So if I've been living real small and little, and then I explode out of myself, and I find my full body expression, I find my pleasure, I find my sexuality, I find my erotic creature, and I'm turned on, my God, nothing can stop you. You can't stop you in a relationship. It can't stop you at work. Everything that you've ever wanted will come to you.
So how can young women apply this mindset? Because it seems like, specifically the doc, it was, women coming to you or seeking this out after they have experienced some life or some trauma or unhappy relationships or et cetera, et cetera. But if we can instill this type of mentality, there's kind of this teaching to the, young men and women to prioritize this and get to know themselves. I know easier said than done, but what would be some ways to try to change that?
I think you start so early.
Yeah.
I think you start really early with teaching young girls even about their body.
Yeah.
When my little girl was 3 years old, one day she had a big pasta dinner, and I put her to bed, and we're laying in bed, and her belly was kind of protruding. And she's like, oh, Mommy, I'm so fat. I'm not going to eat anything tomorrow. And I was like, oh, alarm bells. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I did a self-touch exercise with her. And we touched all these different parts of her body. And we talked about what that part of the body does. And then she'd kiss her part of the body. She'd kiss her knee, and she'd kiss her ankle, and she'd kiss her arms, and she'd kiss her whichever she could reach, right? And she'd love up on her belly and love up on her chest. And that became a ritual that we did, because I could see her being pulled into the really horrifying whirlpool of self-hate that women go through in their bodies. It's like, it's rampant. It's so bad. Women are so brutal to their own being and their own body, but they didn't start out that way. They learned that from somewhere. They learned that from the culture or from media and magazines. And so I think it starts super early, getting young girls to feel powerful in their bodies, teaching them strong stances, teaching them about the different emotional energy in their body and how brilliant their body is. There's so many tools that I've learned, or other feminine embodiment people have learned about the body, that need to be given to young girls so that they don't get sucked into that self-hatred gerbil wheel.
Yeah, it's because it's interesting because we project all our crap onto like literally everyone else
Yeah.
in the world. And then you'll see, and it's like even some, defensive men be like, well, it's, women are more mean to other women and whatever. And like, sure. But like we all do it. We're all just projecting our own bullshit.
Yeah.
And we very rarely like look in the mirror and just be like, why am I criticizing, or why am I commenting on this post, or why am I assuming something negative rather than assuming something positive? Like for example, like my girlfriend will post a picture in a bathing suit, and both men and women equally will start deciding whether she's had plastic surgery or why she's wearing X, Y, and Z. And it's like, it's
Really
fucking brutal. You're just like, why don't you just say you look great and be on your way, or say nothing at all? But it's wild, and it's, I don't know why. And again, men and women are doing this to each other.
Totally, it's misery loves company.
Yeah,
Your mob mentality. Well, if she looks that great, she's doing something false, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I look like this, because I sit on the couch all day and I'm not moving. And that makes themselves feel better, right? I feel like we have this gets into a whole other conversation, but we're in a really kind of just divisive, divided, brutal time right now, because being a celebrity, being someone in the public eye, Nick, you have a target on your back and your chest, and so does your girlfriend now, and so do I. And we have to decide, how are we going to boundary ourselves to be safe in that milieu. So if this is affecting your girlfriend in any way whatsoever, I would have her create boundaries, psychic boundaries, meaning, block and delete.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, she's good about it.
Don't allow.
But
it can't help it.
It wears you down.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It can't help but eat away at. And I feel like we are, social media is such a new landscape that we haven't learned how to create boundaries on it yet. And I've had to, because I have had a target too. And I'm very, very clear. This is a space, my platforms are a space of love and elevation and compassion and learning. And if you do not respect that, block and delete, because I need to create a safe psychic space for myself and for people. And it's really amazing how little people do that, and how they allow all of these, I don't know if you want to call them haters or judgers, into your psychic space to judge your body. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's vulnerable. And I don't care how tough your girlfriend's skin is, that can eat away at you.
And it's not just her. I mean, everyone does it, even whether you're in the public eye or not. Now, to some degree, if you have a public social media platform,
I know,
it's all relative too. Like, you could have 300 followers. How many of those 300 people do you know and knows you?
Right.
Like, knows who you really are.
I get it from this show all the time.
Yeah.
What do you
get
get
it from this show all the time. Judge me of my face, my skin.
What?
Why does Nick only hire fat producers? Like,
what
all that kind of stuff.
Fudge?
Yeah, I get it in my DMs all the time.
And do you look at them?
People.
Do you look at them?
Oh, I do, but then
I tell her not to.
There's another conversation to be had. I mean, in your documentary, what touched me the most was these women, because I'm a bigger woman, with these women who feel the shame that goes along with being a bigger woman.
Yep.
And so you see on social media and you see all this stuff
Brutal.
where it's like you're shamed into like not showing your body, like, like Lizzo's doing the like, here I am right now, right? Like, here's me, here I am, I'm putting myself naked. Yeah. But like someone who's bigger, you have like this shame in like trying to show something like that. So it was interesting in your documentary that you were able to help these women kind of like feel like it's okay for them to be considered almost women that were pretty.
1,000 times. I can't even believe you get that. I'm so protective right now, this whole social media world. I'm so protective of people I care about. Like, I'm like, don't ever open a DM. Just shut it down. Well, just block and delete.
We were just never meant to have this much access to other people's opinions about ourselves.
And that's true. Access is the word, because you have to earn access to people. And people are just feeling like they have access to you. That's not right. That was such a beautiful share with you. And I don't want it to go by without, first of all, thanking you for sharing. That's vulnerable what you said and did about your own body. You have a beautiful endomorphic body. And what people don't understand is the different kinds and shapes of bodies, and coming to peace with who you are in your body is one of the most important things you can ever attain. And I know that there was a period of time where the endomorphic body was worshipped, right? And in Mauritania.
Can you explain what endomorphic body means?
Thank you. So there's an endomorphic body, an mesomorphic body, and an ectomorphic body. And these are the different body shapes that our DNA is going to dictate we grow into, right? An endomorphic is a rounder body that has more curve and more fat tissue. A mesomorphic has more muscle tissue, and an ectomorphic has more neural tissue. And so each of these body types have had its reign of popularity as sexual icons, right? The Venus of Willendorf, if you know that, it's that ancient figurine of that kind of robust and full-bodied woman. Do you know that one I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Lizzo is an endomorph.
Okay.
In a country called Mauritania, I think it's an African country, women that have more body, more mass, more fat are considered more attractive and more sexually provocative than thinner women. So there's different cultures that appreciate different kind of body types. Right now, we live in a time that loves the ectomorph, the tall, skinny. The ectomorphs are very long boned and really thin and tall and small heads. Think of like any supermodel.
Sure.
Would probably be an ectomorph, and a mesomorph is more athletic and muscular. Like any athlete you can think of, any female athlete would be a mesomorph. So coming to peace, part of my passion is helping women come to peace with their body and who their body is and was meant to be. They have no control over whether you're going to be an endomorph or an ectomorph, and understanding that, oh, I'm an endomorphic body. I'm supposed to have this curvy shape. I'm not supposed to look like a stick.
Do you think there's a shift at all in the past 10 years?
It's a shift that's kind of like, see, look, I'm an endomorph, but I have this tiny waist that I had,
Sure.
So when we think about, I think Lizzo is doing more for endomorph than anybody, because endomorph is just robust, fleshy, has this beautiful curve. It's not just like I have that 26-inch waist that Kim Kardashian has. It's like, no, I have a wide girth here, and that's natural to my body, and it's beautiful and it's sexy. So I do know what you're saying, but I do think that we are moving in that direction of pushing more acceptance and normalizing different body types. But I do still think there is this impossible standard that I'm watching my 20-year-old daughter try and achieve, and it is brutal. And these girls are still cutting, and they're still bulimic, and they're still anorexic, and they're still trying to look like Kim Kardashian, who I don't know how she gets her waist to do that. She's gorgeous, but please, that does not look like a waist that I've ever seen.
I
do, yeah.
Right. I think with social media in particular, I'm struck by how it feels like I really identify like a hierarchy of beauty. And I could tell you, I could look at any given photo and point out which aspects of a person conform to that hierarchy of beauty and which of those traits are like desirable. I have a very clear sense of like what is coveted as a body. And that might be like slightly different than other people, but I think there is sort of like a shared sentiment about like what traits and features are idealized and celebrated. And I think one thing I was like very curious about with like watching the documentary was the way you sort of help women get out of the self-talk and into their body. And I'm curious how you think that's possible for people to do on their own, because it's like there's the visceral, like more intuitive body, I feel good in myself, but then there's the voice saying, but I know all of these metrics that I could compare myself to and what is coveted and what is valued, and I don't meet those. And so I'm curious like how that's possible without having another person intervening to get you out of your head to like reconnect with that physical intuition.
Oh gosh, that was a big question. I always say to women, talk to your toes. I know it sounds silly, but if I just said that, did you guys wiggle your toes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you all wiggling your toes now?
I did.
Now do it again. All right. And so if you're thinking about the pleasure in your feet and your toes, you can't be sitting here going, but I'm not this, that. So I know it's cute and it's funny, talk to your toes, but that is all I do is get women's minds to think down into their body, touch your leg, tickle your leg, smack your leg. Do you like it? Which do you like better? Do you like a spanking? Do you like a tickle? Do you like a strong hand? It's exploring the body, and that distracts the critical mind from, well, I don't have that waist, so I'm going to autocorrect that. I'm going to autocorrect this. I'm going to autocorrect that. And you post a picture, it looks nothing like you, but you feel good about it because it represents you to other people. And meanwhile, you go into the bathroom and you vomit up your lunch and your dinner. I hope I'm not being too graphic, but I work with women day in and day out. I know what women do. I know what girls do. I know what they're doing now to their bodies to try and look like all of these icons that they love, right? So the fact that I'm going to go back to Lizzo because I'm so in love with her and I'm so in love with what she's doing, because she's actually saying, this is my body. I don't have a 26-inch waist, but I'm hot. I'm sexy. I feel good in my skin. I dance. I sing. And she's like, she's redefining what sexy can be, what sexy is, right? And giving women permission to feel it inside. Sexy, if you allow sexy to be a word that someone can describe you as, then you are disempowering yourself. If you take sexy and you say, it's mine to define how I feel inside, if I want to feel sexy, then you've just taken the power back, right? Mm-hmm. And that entails talking to your toes, touching your hair, touching your body, breathing deeply into your curves, swirling your hips. And just, to me, it's the biggest FU to a culture that wants to give you these strict guidelines by which sexy is determined. If you say, screw that, and that's what the poll is, that's why I took the poll and turned it into something that any woman on the planet can do, is, look, I don't want this culture to dictate who I am, how beautiful I am, how sexy I am, and how viable I am and valuable I am. I'm going to define that. And I'm going to do it by taking the pole back and by taking the 6-inch heels back and then by taking my body back. Does that help?
No, yeah.
I mean, I'm passionate about it, you can tell, because I've seen so much pain. I've seen so many women in pain, and I don't want women in pain. Women are too amazing. And I've learned so much from cisgendered men looking at women with such love and appreciation. And so to be able to get women to open up to that, because you're right, women can be brutal on women.
Women can be brutal on each other.
Yeah, they can. And I think it's a culture of scarcity, of feeling like, if I don't look like her, I won't get as much attention as she does. Yeah. And I feel like what it needs to be is everybody's going to get attention, because true sexuality, true sexiness is not the 26-inch waist. It is what you feel inside and what you emanate out. When you just radiate like life force energy and you let your body dance and move and you're like liquid and fluid and full of pleasure, you're going to get all the gazes. You're going to get a lot of attention because you're living fully in your truth and in your body.
I totally agree. I was while watching your doc, a question came to me that is a very common question out there, almost like in a playful adolescent way, and that's just the stereotype that nice guys finish last, right? And a lot about your doc was about many of these women who have been traumatized by men, right? And then I think many men might watch it and get defensive. It's like, well, I'm just one of the good guys, but like I've had some tough luck with women as well, and the nice guys finish last. Do you believe that to be true? Yeah, let's just start there.
Do I believe that nice guys finish last?
Yeah, that the stereotype that nice guys finish last.
No, I do not believe that.
I agree.
I do not believe that.
Yeah. I think people confuse what nice means.
Yes.
Right.
That's what I would, yeah.
Anybody who's saying that is probably not a nice guy.
Yeah.
No, but like people will say, like women will joke about that too. That's not what I'm saying. Like women will be like, I like the bad boy. Like I like the.
But the nice guy can be the bad boy.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
The best bad boys are nice guys.
Well, and again, depends.
Oh God, let's quote that. Write that down.
Yeah.
Right?
Also, yes. and it also depends on what how you define bad boy or nice guy, or because we're spending so much time talking about power and empowering, and people will confuse, especially a lot of the women calling in, of like, well, I don't want to be difficult. I don't want to be a bitch. I don't want to like, and I'm just like, I want to be cool. I don't want a guy to think I'm crazy. I don't want to, and I'm just like that. Knowing what you want, knowing how you feel, feeling sexy, guys love that, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Now,
did y'all hear him? Guys love that.
Oh my God. Love. And it will attract the right guys.
That's right.
And you'll also attract a guy who is ideally feels the same way about himself. Confident, secure, knows what he wants, knows what he doesn't want. But when you don't know what you want, you will attract sometimes a guy who thinks he knows what he wants because he's just a dick or puts you down. And then you spend so much time like pining for his love and affection. Right. So, but like to stop that, we need to focus, both men and women, on knowing ourselves, what we want, being confident in ourselves, and then attracting the people we allow into our lives, not pining for the attention and validation of others. And I think it works both ways.
100%.
But I think we're confusing like nice guy with or bad boy with someone who's just confidence can be intimidating. But it doesn't mean he's a dick, or it doesn't mean he's, gaslights, or doesn't mean he, does all these like toxic things, a toxic masculinity and things like that. And often that comes from you can, if you're in, they'll say like, if you're insecure about yourself, men or women, you will attract people because, predators will pick up on your weakness, whatever that might be. And if you have a weakness and you don't know who you are, men and women, you will attract people, unfortunately, who will leverage that weakness to mask their own.
Oh, 100% agree with you.
So we just got to focus on what we need first before we're, even if we are a nurturer, and knowing ourselves to try to.
Can I just share something with you about the good guy, bad boy thing? Because you're so dead right about this, is knowing who you are and how you are. So when I was, so I would categorize men when I was younger, and it still kind of works. I would categorize potential lovers as A, B, C, or D men.
I'm dying to know. I'm dying to know the list.
So the D man is, you used the word before, is a dick man. The dominator. It's the dominator mentality.
Okay.
And he's the dick man. And he thinks the world revolves around him and his penis. And that's a culture that we're hopefully leaving. The C man is the compromised or castrated man who has allowed some force in their lives to castrate their virility, whether it's an overbearing mother and father, or if it's society and a job he hates, or whatever it is, he's compromised himself. That's what I think people interpret as the good guy. You don't have to be that.
Yeah.
And then there's the B man, which is the boy man who doesn't want to grow up and is having a hard time taking on responsibility and stepping into his virility and his masculinity. And then there's the A man, and I call him the altar man, at whose altar I worship. I worship the altar man, the awakened man, who is completely at peace with his virility and his masculinity, can stand in it, can hold his space, can hold his lover's space, isn't intimidated and overwhelmed by strong, wild, crazy, erotic, feminine energy, can hold that and feels not overwhelmed or intimidated. You saw 3 amen in the film that held the space for the women who were just shattering, right? It was so beautiful. And I think to get to amen status, to get to this place, you're exactly right. You got to do some deep, deep inner work. Who am I as a masculine energy on this planet? And when I say a man, it could be an a woman as well. If you're in a lesbian relationship, it's really about, how do I find and hold my integrity in this masculine energized body I'm in, right? Yeah. So I feel like an a man can be the baddest bad boy on the planet, because he's so at peace with himself and his masculinity. He's not threatened by other masculine energy. He's not threatened by, he can hold the space and protect the feminine energy around him that he wants to protect.
Yeah. And I think like you said, the castrated guy is what people confuse as the good guy or the nice guy.
Yeah.
And that he might be nice at times, you know, and he might be gentle at times, but he's got some shit he needs to work through, right? And that's why, like, you'll see, like, maybe you might see this good-looking guy from afar. You walk up, and then he starts talking, and immediately he'll lose all his kind of sexual energy because he doesn't know, you know, he's figuring him. He doesn't know what he wants, and he's confused, and his insecurities just kind of radiate, and that makes a lot of sense. And that's why he's not sought after. It's not because he's nice. It's because
he lost his.
The
guys say, "Get your balls back," right? Yeah. He's lost his. I don't want to be crass about it, but he's lost his sense of who he is as a man.
Yeah, yeah. Because I do get frustrated. I'll see guys on the internet, you know, like this. Oh well. You know, I try to be nice, but that doesn't seem to work. And it's just like...
And that's a C-man right there.
Yeah.
Just the way you said it is a compromised man who he wants to be nice. He wants to fit into the whole model of what's happening in the world. And he wants to be respectful, which he can be. Just don't compromise yourself as a man. Don't compromise your own sense of masculinity, your own sense of groundedness, your own sense of power, your strength, your physical strength, your emotional strength, your all of these elements that can really make for a powerful masculine presence.
Yeah. And it will really, I see it with a lot of young men too. It's just like the first time they get their heart broken.
Yeah.
They feel like they've been vulnerable for the first time and they've done X, Y, and Z, and she leaves.
Yeah.
And then there's resentment and anger, and it's just like, well, I was good to you, and I didn't get anything out of it.
Right.
And
it's like transactional niceness. Because it's not niceness that's coming from within and from wanting to nurture and be kind. It's like, I'm doing this for you.
Yes.
You aren't you keeping up your end of the bargain?
Right.
Yeah. And then they leave, and it's just like, what the fuck?
How dare you?
How dare you?
Yeah, I feel cheated.
It's like, you're not, there's billions of people. Just find someone else. Yeah, but you see that a lot with a lot of young men.
And I think women, especially young women, are so susceptible to that guilt. I think guilt is such a guilt and shame. And that's one thing that's so clear in the documentary, is a really comfortable space for a lot of women to go into. And so part of the reason that this dynamic exists and perpetuates is that, like, I feel like me and my peers were very susceptible to this idea that, oh, we did owe them something and we didn't keep up our end of the bargain, and that there is like some obligation, and that I think it can be really hard to have the confidence to take up space and be like, no, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people often, like, when people break up, there's just always, there's going to be pain if there was love there. There's going to be sadness.
Yep.
And it's okay to be the bad guy, quote unquote bad guy, if you end up leaving a relationship, because they're going to feel anger. And you got to sometimes, and we'll do that because you'll break someone's heart and you cared about them and you feel sad because you didn't want to hurt them.
Yeah.
And then it gets really complicated. Then you will compromise what you know you deserve in a relationship, because, like, I need to leave this relationship for whatever reason. It's not good for me, or I know I want to deserve something more, and it's nothing against you. And then we worry too much about, you know, them, or we'll let them shame us.
Right.
And there's just a lot of messiness that can come from that. And men and women do that to each other.
They do. And there's something that you mentioned earlier that I wanted to, in connection to that, is well, you mentioned that men can look at the documentary and say, you know, men can be brutal on women's bodies, and there's a lot of things in the documentary that you'll see that a lot of women recovering from brutal.
Yeah.
And men, it must be really, really tough on some level. And I'm showing compassion to the masculine right now, because it's like a punching bag at the moment, because so many men are not bad guys and are not going to be sexual offenders, or not going to hurt women, but there are those few that have. And, you know, where's the line where men don't have to, and this is a question to you, because you must feel that too at some level. You must feel, I can't believe those guys did that to these girls.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk in our culture, like, police are good apples, bad apples, that idea of like, well, there's just some bad apples, right? Type of thing.
Yeah.
And you get defensive too, but I mean, in my adult life, I feel very fortunate not only to have this platform and have people call and share their stories, but I have a lot of women friends. I've dated a lot of women, and it's shocking how many, when you start talking to women about their experiences, or you watch the movie where she goes on these dates and Promising Young Woman. Yes. And the amount of women that have experienced sexual assault, trauma, harassment is astonishing.
Thank you for saying that. Because
and what's more astonishing is that of all the women who have shared a story in some degrees, whether it's friends, women I've dated, just acquaintances, 100% of the men who victimize them are walking on this earth free.
Yep. So that's what
I mean. It's
well. How does that
tragic.
feel as a man?
It's terrible. And right. And so like so if it's 10% of men or 20% of men, and so like as a guy, I think and I've talked about this, whether we talk about racism or we talk about, masculinity, it's like, it's easy to get defensive because you're just like, I want to be one of the good guys. But as opposed to just immediately assuming that you've never done anything wrong, I think it's always good to just ask the questions of like, how could I have done better in any given situation, right? It's just like, and sometimes, do I pay attention? Do I ask the questions? Right. Do I, and you're like, you've never traumatized a woman or put them in a situation, but you just try to ask more questions and make them feel comfortable. I mean, but it's easy because you just don't want to get labeled as like, there's a lot of, that's the thing right now in this world, there's a lot of generalizing,
labeling everybody,
labeling everyone, putting everyone into a box. And then, Amanda and I have talked about this. What's very frustrating is it seems like we're getting into a place where people forget that two things can be true at the same time. Right. The world's nuanced. It's gray. It's not black and white, but it's just so like, a guy did this to me, all men are bad. And so then guys will get defensive. There's just becomes this war.
It's
inevitable. It's just a lot of doing your part. How can you?
So what's your part is my question to you.
For me?
I'm curious. I don't get an opportunity. I talk to a lot of women.
Yeah.
I do a lot of women's podcasts. I have a chance to talk to a good guy, a good man. And my question is, when you hear about your friends, right? Yeah. Astonishing amount of women have had some kind of sexual impropriety done to their body, right? Me teaching for 20 years, astonishing number of women have had some kind of recovery. They have to, because something's happened to their body as kids, caused by men. As a man that's probably not done it, you haven't done anything awful to a woman's body. How do we solve the man problem?
I think it's a lot of.
Wanted to ask this forever.
I mean, it's a lot of things. I mean, if I'm just guessing, and I'm not an expert. There's a religious element. There's an inappropriate, like in like sex education. Mm-hmm. I think this kind of Puritan culture is we pretend that we shouldn't talk. Like, I mean, the story you told about your daughter when she was eating, I think that's the stuff that doesn't happen a lot, right?
Right.
In terms of just having an honest conversation with your young child about real honest things that they're going to experience, and whether that's sex and whether that's eating habits and not having shame is I think we just have to have more conversations about it. Young men need to watch Promising Young Woman and say this happens and not pretend that it doesn't. Right. I think sometimes we want to watch these movies or documentaries and pretend it's an isolated small group of people, and maybe it's small relative to like the overall society, but clearly too many.
Yeah, because you and I, almost all the women we know have had some kind of sexual offense, and it's just like 10% of men are doing that.
Exactly.
I
don't know what the number is, but it's shocking how many. And again, like
I know
where does it start? I mean, I don't think we're going to solve this problem.
No,
in the
but
next
I'm
30
so
minutes.
curious
But
to
it's
hear.
I think I grew up in a very welcoming family, and I had a mother who had her own experiences, right? And so it was, she had 6 boys, and talking to her boys about treating women was something we were taught since I can remember,
right
before puberty, in terms of, respecting first it was respecting your sisters, and it wasn't necessarily about chivalry. It was just about, that just respect. Right. And I don't know. And my dad, in terms of how he treated my mother. Right. Yeah. And I think, we watch and it's a cyclical, right. And
absolutely.
And so this has been going on for years, in terms of, you watch our young men might watch their fathers treat their mothers a certain way and think that's how they should treat, women. Porn's a problem so there's a lot of things out there.
I think you're absolutely right. It is an issue.
And in terms of, but also just having conversations, young dating couples talking about sex before most people go in and have sex before they've ever discussed sex.
Right.
They don't talk about what they like or their interests or what their kinks are or what makes them feel safe or unsafe. There is have a couple beers and be like, let's take our clothes off, and you're going to get a lot of things wrong.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in an unsafe situation,
right.
But even that, we're just not talking about sex enough and making it feel like it's a safe space, and a lot of what your documentary talked about is just you're getting a lot of women, not young women for the first time being open about their bodies and sex in ways they've never before. And that's crazy when you're talking about 30, 40-year-old, 50-year-old women. Their whole life, they just were like, you can't talk about it. I'm gonna be a lady.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
So I think you're just not having conversations. And in another, in a deeper issue, that's where I get a little worried about the world sometimes, is that, I believe in accountability, and we a lot of talk conversations about cancel culture, but people will always, you got to make sure the conversations are happening out in the public for people to hear.
Yeah.
Because people are, if they're not talking about it, they're still going to wonder about it. They're still going to be curious. They're still going to have their own thoughts, and thoughts that aren't communicated often can get dark. So we need to allow a safe space for people to talk about whatever's going on up in here, whether it's through therapy or with each other. And so, absolutely. I don't know. I'm rambling.
But it's good, because I'm just curious, and because I've heard it before. I did a TED Talk in 2012, and I heard that men were threatened by it and pissed off, and then I heard about the documentary, that men also get their hackles up about the documentary and about the women who've had so many affronts. So I just wanted to kind of, and I can see that you were also thinking about this and aware of this, and it's because you're right. Nobody's talking. Everything we're talking about goes back to one thing, and that is what we talked about earlier, is that we each need to know who we are and what we want.
Yeah.
I mean, and I have S Factor, and I've developed S Factor for women. And there are a few places where men can actually go and have a collective of the masculine to understand and learn how to be in a tribe of masculine energy, where we used to have that more indigenous, when we lived in the more indigenous tribal communities, right? Where young men would go do vision quests, young women would have their own moontime quest, and there was much more development of who we were as masculine, feminine creatures. And now there's so little of that. And it's not accessible. It's not easily accessible. You have to really look to find S Factor, or to find like Michael Holt's company, the guy that I used with his 3 men in the documentary. It's very challenging. It's why is this not something that is as popular as Amazon? I mean, God, to me, this is the nectar of life. Sexuality, interpersonal relationships, communication, connection, eroticism. And yet you have to hunt to really find it.
You do. I think last week I used the analogy where it's people go through puberty, start having sex, and it's we're just race cars. We're these souped up, big engine race cars with absolutely no training or experience.
Exactly.
We just get in the cars, put our foot on the gas, and hope we don't crash. But we crash all the time, and
we're crashing into each other.
We're just it's fun.
It's crazy.
Woo! It's
crazy. And then I'm sitting in a circle of women who are all crying or just upset because they've been crashed into.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's so simple, you guys. I mean, something so natural and so beautiful is sexuality. It's such a great analogy, the race car thing, because nobody says how or why, where, when. What?
They're just like, just don't get in the race car. It's the only way not to crash. You're like, but it's so fun. Like,
don't get in the race car.
Like, you could show me how to put on a seatbelt. Like, no, just don't get in the race car.
Don't get in the race car.
Seatbelts,
Don't get in the race car is what women hear. Shut it down. Shut your race car down. So women we're in our race car like this. I don't know what my and guys are like in their race car out here because the world is okay with masculine sexuality, and then those race cars crash into our race cars and we're just like a mess instead of like together like that.
So tap into your sexuality, be more empowered, get to know who you are, and then look for your partner. And anyone intimidated by you, just keep on looking.
Bye. Anybody exactly. Know who you are. Know who you are as an erotic body.
Yeah.
Know your body. Know how your body wants to be touched. Know how she wants to move. Know all the different ways she can move to bring you pleasure. Because how many times have women just told me, and you guys don't know the answer to this, so many times, but they just told me they just lay there. They just lay there. The guy gets on, and it's like, no, girl, you got to move. Let me show you how to move. Let me show you how to get on top. Let me show you how to move your body into pleasure. It's like a lock and a key. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we could just talk about this forever, but I probably have to let you go.
Probably.
Thank you so much.
It was great.
Can you let the audience know where they can consume more of your wonderful content, and if they are interested in learning more about S-Class and pole dancing, where they could find it, sign up, take a class?
Absolutely. So if you watch the documentary, I did a 6-month journey, right? The documentary travels 6 months with this group of women. I'm actually going to do that 6-month journey, September, October, November, December, January, February. So I'm going to take women virtually through the same journey. You can come and get on the wait list for that at sfactor.com. Or you can come and read my blog at sheilakelley.com. But where I spend a lot of time is on my Instagram is Sheila Kelley S. So it's at Sheila Kelley S on Instagram.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate it. It's been a ton of fun.
So fun.
Thanks so much for listening, guys. I hope you found this interesting, helpful. Make sure to follow Sheila. Check out the documentary Strip Down, Rise Up on Netflix. It's really great. And other than that, send your questions at asknickatcastme.com, cast with a K. And if there's nothing else, we'll see you back on Monday. Bye.